Hey guys, welcome to the Family First Life U.S.A. podcast. My name is Stephen Yee. I'm your host today. I'm honored and privileged to have one of my good friends. Hey, so we're going to dive into your background because I think a lot of folks at FFL, the beauty of Family First Life is we have such a variety of backgrounds that came prior to Family First Life, but they still kill it here. Like in your instance, a lot of your group came from the auto industry. Right. Can you kind of share with us the similarities of the auto industry and FFL in your perspective?
Absolutely. I mean, there's a whole bunch of similarities, Steve. One thing is it's a sale.
Right.
I guess, if you want to call insurance a sale, but you're selling something.
Right.
And you're dealing with clients and or customers, what we call it in the auto industry. Once you start building a team, it's about managing your team in the insurance industry and, being a leader. But in the auto industry, I was also a manager. So it was about leading a team and managing a team.
What was the highest position you worked up to in that industry?
I went all the way to general sales manager.
What does that mean for folks that don't understand?
A general sales manager, he's not only going to work the numbers. I'm the guy that's behind the curtain working the numbers to send an assistant sales manager out to start closing the deal.
Gotcha. So you're the guy behind closed door.
Exactly. So
that we never get to meet.
Right. You'll never meet me unless there's a problem.
Okay.
Right. So also, I didn't just have one team. I had a team I had a whole store.
Right.
So that's not only the sales department, that's the service department, that's the parts department, that's all the technicians, that's the auto porters, the ones that wash the cars and vehicles, also customer and client retention.
Right.
So literally, I wore every single hat in the auto industry.
Gotcha. So how did you find Family First Life? And, you were working 60, 70 hours a week, you had a successful, for you to be able to look at Family First Life and be like, all right, I'm out. Right. That's a big deal.
It is. Absolutely.
So like for those people that are in the auto industry watching this video and such, like why should they take a look at Family First Life?
Well,
or why did you?
Why I did was, for one, I wanted a better quality of life. Like,
explain that.
So what I mean by that is when you're in the auto industry, Steve, you're there for 13, 14 hours almost a day.
Right.
And when you look at your paycheck after the month, okay, I did, for, let's say, a regular car salesman, he did around $6,000 to $10,000.
Mm-hmm.
You have certain car salesmen doing $90,000 a year, almost $100,000 a year. So they look at that and say, "It don't get much better than that out there."
Right.
Because we're so blinded by the world. Like we're in this little box because we're there all day.
Right.
We don't even have time to explore anything.
Right.
You don't have time to go on any job sites to see what's going on out there. We don't have time for that.
You don't have weekends off because that's, I'm assuming, the best days to sell cars.
We don't have weekends off at all.
Holidays?
No holidays. Christmas.
Okay, besides that, but that's like when everybody wants to buy a car because they don't have work.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Or you guys run the promotions and stuff, such like that for for people to come in. So that's the thing that I find very interesting too is, I had a chance to watch you negotiate a car for me.
Right.
But on this side of the fence.
On that side.
Right.
Right.
And I'm literally sitting there like, I have no idea what you're talking about because it's so complex. It's so complex for me. But like you literally dropped my payment like $250, $300 a month. And I'm like, what I was more mad at, I wasn't mad at you. I was like, they would have done this to me if you weren't here.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah.
And they would have made it seem like it was normal.
Absolutely.
And so like, you go from like hurting people almost in a sense to insurance. We're like helping people because like I've said this a few times to, some of the guys that you guys work with. You guys sell me on a thrill. I get to drive my car. I feel good when I drive my car. That's cool. But like if I die, that car does nothing for my family.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
But if you put an insurance policy on me and my family and something happens to me, my wife won't have me anymore, but the quality of life doesn't change.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So like you're in sales, but you're on the different side of sales. You're like on the
Right.
good side of sales.
Absolutely.
Right? Can you
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
dive into that?
Oh, absolutely, man. When you're in when I was in the auto industry for so many years, we were taught that it's us against them. And don't feel bad because these are all grown-ups and they're able to make their own decision. But
That's what they taught you.
that's what they taught us.
Wow.
But see, the thing is, we're highly trained to manipulate a client, a customer with numbers.
Right.
Because we know the numbers and they don't.
Right.
Right. So when it comes to interest rates, a client doesn't understand. I don't care how terrible a person's credit is, they can always get lower.
Right.
They can always get lower. Like,
right. So like when they ran my credit report, and then you're like, dude, what was this score? And they're like 770 or whatever, right? And you're like, dude, change that bank to this bank. It's gonna drop that interest rate by this. And I'm like, whatever. And they came back and they're like, hey, you're right, by the way. And I was like, wait, what?
Absolutely.
You know, like that's crazy.
It's ridiculous because what happens is this: your payment was like somewhere in the sevens, eights when they came out.
No, it was like in the nines and thousands, and then you dropped it to 7.
I'm like, yo, that's $300 in interest.
Right.
Not even talking about the MSRP of the vehicle.
Right.
That's $300 in interest. So think about that for a second. When you do 300 multiplied by 12,
it's $3,600 a month.
And then
a year.
Yeah, exactly. So now you multiply that 3,600 times 7 years.
Right. It's like a lot.
Right?
It's like what, 25, 30 G's.
Exactly. Now,
who makes that though? Does the dealership make that?
The dealership makes the difference. So let's say the bank says, okay, well, the bank is actually trying to help you, but the dealership is in between that. So the dealership is, the bank will say, okay, he's approved at 2.9. A dealership says you're approved at 5.9. So the difference in money between 2.9 and 5.9
is 3%.
Is 3%. The bank pays us. So a lot of times that's another $3,000.
Wow.
$3,000 in commission. So, it's a tough world in that industry. And then you got to look at the MSRP. The MSRP, there's so many different ways to calculate MSRP. But if it's, let's say, $55,000, the actual price of the vehicle is most likely $51,000.
Right.
Right. So then they add on accessories for another $2,000. So going into it, you're 3% higher on your interest and $8,000 more
in your car.
Right. They're tearing people apart. So, I got older. I started getting older and older in the car business. And, you start to look at that. You start to read a credit bureau and see, Miss Smith, 72 years old, old enough to be my grandmother.
And it don't sit well.
It just don't sit well, because then I have to look at the salesperson, the hungry salesperson that wants to make money to feed their family.
Right.
And I have to say, okay, well, let's make some money on this.
Right.
Right. And still try to be, cognizant of, trying to be a good person as well,
Now that you come into the industry, our industry is completely different in a sense where it's us against them, as in us and the client against the carrier.
Absolutely.
Because we're trying to get them the best rates. We're trying to get them, approved. Like so many times, you and I both have sat down with clients and they're like, we've tried 4 different insurance companies and they wouldn't give us anything. And it's like, well, they don't have what we have, ma'am. Right. Or sir. And then we put them in a situation and they're like hugging us on the way out.
Right.
Because it's like we're putting them in a better place. We're not hurting them.
Right.
Explain how that's changed for your psyche alone.
Oh, man. Extremely. There's been times where, I've sold a vehicle and I've walked in, a client will walk out saying, I had to buy it because they didn't have no other choice. And they're crying, leaving the dealership in a brand new vehicle.
Right.
But then on the insurance side, you get them approved because we are brokers.
Right.
We have so many different options to go to.
Right.
And you have they cry saying, thank you.
Right.
You're God sent.
Right.
So I've been on both sides of that spectrum. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like, selling insurance versus, selling cars, I mean, it is night and day.
Right.
You literally have to hold somebody to make anything, right? So I'll go through two different ways, right?
Okay.
So a salesperson just sold a vehicle, took them about 6 hours
Right.
to get through that whole sale process. Now, let's say if a client was actually a little bit smart and they negotiated the deal and we actually sold it for MSRP just to get the car off the lot.
Right.
Because there's a billion different car lots that a person can choose
Right.
and say, okay, well, you know what? Okay, if you're not going to give me the price, I'm quite sure the dealership down the street will.
Right.
Right? So if you sell it for MSRP, guess what? It's called a mini deal. A mini deal is only going to pay you $100 for 6 hours. For 6 hours of work.
Right.
Right? Here,
you have a lot of guys in car business that come over and kill it.
Absolutely.
You have, Robert Kakish, Crystal
Killer.
Rappers. Like a lot of these people are phenomenal. A part of me feels like it's because they're already used to the work ethic.
Absolutely.
At a dealership. Like explain that. Like, for someone that's watching, like how like the regular sales guys or someone in finance, how long are they actually at a dealership? Like 60, 70, 80 hours a week?
Oh my goodness. So a salesperson, they're at the dealership at 8 o'clock. Early bird catches the worm because it's an up system. And let me elaborate a little bit about an up system in the car industry. So it's two ways. You either call your car. What that means is you see a car coming down the street, you got to say yellow on the curb, green coming in, blue coming. No, that's mine. I called it first. And they're talking to like 37.
Oh, so they're like competing for cars.
There's 37 salespeople right there on the front lot calling cars. Green on the hook, orange coming in, blue coming in. No, that's mine. No, that's mine. And you're fighting. It's just a chaotic situation.
Right.
So you better get there at 7 o'clock in the morning so you can make sure you can get a couple of vehicles before everybody get there, and you're not going to get nothing.
Right.
It doesn't matter if it's 10 degrees outside. Doesn't matter if it's 300 degrees outside. You better make sure that you get there.
Right.
Right. So that's ridiculous.
Right.
Like the mindset around that's ridiculous. And then you have to stay until the last client leaves. So if I was a salesperson on the first shift, dude, I'm not leaving at 3 o'clock because I know I didn't sell anything.
Right.
Most people get off of work at around 5 to 6 o'clock unless it's a weekend.
Right.
Right. So I want to make sure that I can at least get one opportunity to sell a vehicle.
Right.
'Cause I need the commission.
Right.
Right. So it's around 6 o'clock. I've been there since 7. It's 11 hours in. Dude, still didn't get anything. You have to get creative. So being there for 12, 13, 14 hours, rain, snow, sunshine, whatever it is, for 13, 14 hours a day and get nothing, you gotta be mentally inclined for that.
Right.
So
Client to
say
get
okay.
approved.
Exactly.
Right. More
Get approved
important.
to say okay.
Right. The other thing too is like wow, that's crazy because I have seen that. Like one of the things is like I hate going to a car lot because it feels like the moment you set foot on there, it's like, hey man, you need help? Hey man, it's like, dude,
Right.
get off of me.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like at least, right?
Exactly.
In our business, we don't have to do that because we have leads.
Right.
Share that with people. Like, what does that mean?
So there's in the car industry, unless you're an internet salesperson, you don't have no leads. You just got to wait for a client to start walking on that lot. And now that we're in the internet days, who just actually does that?
Right.
Right. So now they're going to leads, but there's 40 other people round robining all day. You might get two leads a day. Oh, they're free. Okay.
Right. But we got to control how much we want.
Exactly. So on a typical dial day on a Monday, I'm dialing 200 leads. And if you're looking at, I want to work less, you're not right for me.
Right.
Because we don't accept less. Work the same, you'll make maximum,
Right.
you know what I mean, potential in gross earnings.
Right. Dude, as we wrap this up, one more thing I want to talk about. Because, see, this is the thing that, like, is so underrated about our industry, and people don't understand this. Like, they don't understand what the word renewal even is or the word residual, right? Because back then, renewals and residuals were only reserved for, like, entertainers, musicians, people that make movies, actors, actresses, such and that. You sell a $50,000 car, you don't get paid on that thing anymore. You're like on to the next sale because you got to go chase the next, the next commission.
Right.
Compared to us, it's like we can make a sale today. And like you said, if Mr. Smith keeps that policy in year month 13, month 14, month 15, to the rest of his life, we'll get a portion of that check forever.
Forever.
And it's like you can legitimately, like, think about it like this. It's like, imagine if you got paid $100 a car. Well, that's your only commission in your business. But like, imagine getting paid $100 a car for every month for the cars you've ever sold in the past. Mm-hmm. Y'all don't have that. But in insurance, there is. That's what's attractive is you can build a book of business to have, right? And then be able to chase the next commission too. You have the best of both worlds.
Absolutely.
And in our business, you can actually sell the business.
Right.
Because there's actually revenue that's predictable.
Absolutely.
Can't really do that if you're a car salesman or an F&I guy or you're general sales manager. You can't do that.
No, you're capped. Right.
So as we wrap this up, man, I mean, for folks that are looking, any last closing remarks for folks that are, industry, they're vets in the auto industry.
Right.
And they're like sick of it. They might be sick of being on the car lot for 60, 70, 80 hours a week. I mean, you look at the folks in our company like yourself, Robert Kakish, Crystal, you look at like Eric Schmidt, Liz Brendan, they all came from the auto industry.
Here, you hire and you build a team. You build an organization, you build a business, right? So at my last dealership, in total sales a month, I want to just kind of explain that like this. So in the car industry, you have a closer, you have a team full of 5.
Okay.
Right? You have a team full of 5, and your job is to close every single deal. A good closer will probably do about $100,000 in sales for their team. You get paid, and they get paid around 8% of that.
8,000.
About $8,000, plus a couple of bonuses. What do you do, right? Here, let's just say you had the same 5. There's probably 3% out there that, I just love the car industry. No, you don't. You're lying. You only love it because you think that this is the only thing that's out there. And
right.
I'm telling you, the grass is most definitely greener on the other side with insurance. So that's what I definitely will say. The quality of life is better. We do work hard. We're up at 4 a.m. I'm up at 4 a.m. every single day,
right.
And I'm narrating my day. I work hard. I work really, really hard because I'm building a business.
Right.
This is a business, right? So if you were just, let's say if I was just an insurance guy, right? So any car person that's watching this right now, the grass is definitely greener. It's most definitely greener. Buy your leads. Make your calls like you've been doing in the car industry. You go to work.
Right. The beauty of it is I think you have the freedom of your schedule too.
Absolutely.
Not in terms of like being able to the flexibility of like, for example, like if you wanted to spend time with your daughter because she has a dance recital or basketball practice or something, you can go.
Absolutely.
Because you can work around that compared to you imagine walking off the prime time at the lot because you wanted to go do that. It'd actually hurt you financially.
I would get fired. If
right.
Like, I remember one time I was like, hey, my daughter had a basketball game. It was on a Sunday. I was supposed to be off at 5, right? Her game was at 5:30, and it was about 40 miles away. So I wanted to make it.
Right.
I'm like, hey, I just want to leave about 20 minutes early so I can make sure I make the game. Because I done already missed like 6 games in a row.
Right.
Trying to provide for my family and provide for her. Nope. Here, dude, I work every single day, but if I wanted to move things around, I can.
Right. Hey, your game's, Sunday at 5. How about we go work on Saturday or Monday? We'll fill the gap.
Exactly.
It's that simple.
Exactly, man. And it's the quality of life with your family.
Yep.
I tell every car guy this: the insurance business is the car business on super steroids.
Right. And you're actually doing it on the good side.
Absolutely.
You're not hurting people. You're helping people.
Absolutely.
That's the beauty of it. Bruce, if people wanted to reach out, and get a hold of you, what's the easy way for them to reach out and be able to work with you?
Easy. You can take a look at my Facebook, Bruce Will, or Bruce Williams. I have 2. Instagram, King Bruce Will, or King B Will, or Suited Bruce. Right.
He has 17 accounts.
But the best possible way is to just email me, brucewill@fflprolific.com.
What about your phone number?
Bruce Will at fflprolific.com. Or you know what? You can give me a call as well, 951-450-1483.
There you go. That sounds good. Hey, guys, I appreciate you guys hopping on. If you guys have anybody in the car industry or even know anybody that's looking into that versus thinking about doing insurance, this is the guy you want to get him in touch with. So thank you for hopping on. We appreciate you guys.